I'd like to show you some of my own street photography this week. Street photography is best done by wandering the world with a camera in hand and an open eye. Most of this work that I'm going to show you today was shot on film. Today you get the feedback of digital right away, but I'm just going to kind of go through these and tell you the circumstances of shooting each one quickly. This one, which I call 4x4x3, was made at my bank here in Fairbanks at what was then Northern Schools Credit Union. Now it's called Spirit of Alaska. I pulled up in my car, looked out my driver's side window, and there are 3 dogs watching me. I had a Polaroid camera in my seat and just grabbed it and made this frame before I even got out of the car. I ran down the window and made this picture. Most of the pictures I'm going to show you today are taken in an unexpected way. I'm just there with my camera ready for something to happen and ready to shoot quickly. This one is an exception. I shot this at Alaska Land with a 4x5 view camera, and I won't go into a long story about it now, but I arranged the camera before I met the people. I didn't have American Gothic in mind, believe it or not. I didn't realize that until I was developing the negative, but I did want to get a picture of them with what was then the first time I'd ever seen a satellite dish on an RV. This was back in about 1985. This picture was made much like I first described. I was coming out of a store in Virginia and had a camera around my neck, and these 3 kids were just waiting for their mother and posed exactly like this, or standing exactly like this since they weren't posed. They saw my camera. The kid in the middle said, "Hey, mister, take our picture." I dropped my groceries, made this frame very quickly, and then they reached into the back of the car after saying, "Wait a minute," and they pulled out a little black puppy, and then they were all smiley and laughy, and luckily I got in this one frame that kind of showed the image as I had seen it as I came up on their car. This picture was made right after I moved to Fairbanks. It's at Bentley Mall, and I used to cruise Bentley Mall quite a bit with my camera. And this is just a kid who's trying to push open the doors and come into the mall. This picture is called Pipeline Supporters. It was made out at the Pipeline, of course, the Viewpoint out in Fox. And they were taking pictures with their friends, as you often see tourists do, pretending to hold the pipeline. And I'm sure their friend was carefully arranging their hands to look like they were supporting it. I thought it was funnier if the camera was a little higher and you could see that gap. This picture was made in Florida. The woman was reading a magazine exactly like this, a couple of beach blankets over from ours, and I saw her and snuck over with my camera, and just before I took the picture she sensed I was there. This was taken with a 2 1/4 Hasselblad camera, pretty big camera, and she moved the magazine down and looked me dead in the eye, didn't say a thing, but gave me kind of a scowl. And I said, "I'm just trying to get a picture of the back of your magazine." And she flipped it around and looked at it, looked at me, and held it back up as she had had it when I walked up, and continued reading. And I made a couple of frames and quickly scurried away. This picture was made in Virginia. You get the lovely humidity back there, and it comes out in pictorial photography as a lightening of tones as things get farther away from you, which is very beautiful. So here that's humidity as the trees get lighter in the background and or darker near me. Picture made off the interstate. Had to actually do a lot of driving to get back around to this picture, but the Get Right with God sign and the horse in the field, and just kind of a interesting moment in life. This was made in my house. I walked down one morning and there's my dog Sticky, who's now passed, and she's nose to nose with a young moose. This is actually probably a yearling, at our living room window. Quickly grabbed my camera and made this image. South Dakota, driving to Deadwood to take pictures at a rodeo, and I'm on a little 2-lane road, and there's these signs that say, they're kind of like Burma shave signs. They're about a trout farm, and most of them have a trout on top of them. I hit this one where the trout had fallen off and disappeared, but it's the only one that said, "You catch them, we fry them," and in the background a couple of horses were grazing to complete my visual joke. This picture was made near Jasper, Alberta. I just drove by this little quarry wall. It's right beside the road. Pretty high cliff. These kids were jumping, and I stopped my Volkswagen camper and got my Hasselblad out and did some vertical pans, which I have very rarely done in photography. So you get that little bit of motion with a slow shutter speed, and I'm tracking the jumper, and you know, the photo god's smile, the shadows and lights and all just worked out well. And he's heading toward a black pool of water below him. This picture was made at Cape Canaveral, or Kennedy Space Center at Cape Canaveral in Florida. Cruising around there, and you see these tableaus that you need one more element to kind of complete, or two more elements to complete an image. And again, the photo gods smile occasionally, and sometimes they stump you. But I had the space shuttle. There's an astronaut-shaped topiary approaching a satellite-shaped topiary, which you just don't see every day in Fairbanks. A little bird resting on one of the solar panel topiaries on the satellite. And this kid was just kind of stepping off this little 1-foot wall, the way kids will do, kind of robot-like. And I shot it with his leg fully astride. I really enjoy street photography. It's kind of like hunting. The rewards are high too. Lots of misses, but the occasional great picture that lets you think you can do it again tomorrow. I hope you enjoy this part of your assignment.